Hey, stop buying expensive protein powders and throwing money away on supplements that your body can barely even absorb. Because today, I'm going to show you that the most powerful muscle saving foods on the planet have been sitting in your grocery store this entire time, priced at less than $2 a serving, and almost nobody over 60 is eating enough of them. I'm Dr. William Kim, and after more than 2 decades working with patients in their 60s, 70s, and 80s, I've watched too many strong, independent people slowly lose the ability to open a jar, climb stairs, or get up off the floor without help, not because of some unavoidable disease, but because of a silent thief called sarcopenia. That's the medical term for age-related muscle loss, and if you're not actively fighting it, it is winning right now. A landmark study published in the Journal of the American Medical Association followed adults over 60 for 12 years and found that those who lost significant muscle mass had a 218% higher risk of physical disability and were nearly 3 times more likely to fall and suffer serious injury. 3 times. And the most shocking part of that research? The single greatest predictor of who kept their muscle wasn't their exercise program, it was what they ate. Now, I want to tease something for you right now because I know you're going to want to stay until the end. The number one food on today's list, the one that beats eggs, beats chicken breast, and outperforms nearly every expensive supplement on the market, costs less than $1 a cup, has been eaten by the longest lived populations on Earth for centuries, and I can almost guarantee it is not what you're thinking. So stay with me. Before we dive in, I want to ask you something directly. Leave a comment below and tell me your age. And tell me this, are you currently noticing any weakness, any stiffness, any difficulty doing things that used to feel easy? I read every single comment on this channel, and your answers genuinely shape the videos I make for you. Now let's get into it. We're counting down from 5 to 1, ranking these foods from powerful all the way up to extraordinary. Each one of these is cheap, easy to find, and scientifically proven to help your body hold onto the muscle you've worked a lifetime to build. Starting at number 5, and this one already surprises most people I tell it to, cottage cheese. Most of my patients in their 70s have written off cottage cheese as diet food from the 1,980 seconds, something their mothers ate with canned peaches. But I want you to think about cottage cheese differently starting today because inside that humble little tub is one of the most anabolic substances your aging body can actually use. A single cup of full-fat cottage cheese contains between 25 and 28 grams of protein, which already edges out 2 large eggs. But here's what makes it special for people over 60 specifically. The dominant protein in cottage cheese is something called casein, which is a slow-digesting protein. Think of casein like a slow-burning log on a fire instead of a handful of paper. It releases amino acids into your bloodstream steadily over 5 to 7 hours rather than all at once and then disappearing. Researchers at Maastricht University in the Netherlands conducted a study specifically on older adults and found that consuming casein protein before bed resulted in a 22% increase in overnight muscle protein synthesis compared to a placebo. That's your body literally building and repairing muscle tissue while you sleep. And this matters enormously after 60 because of something called anabolic resistance, a real physiological change that happens in aging muscle tissue where your cells become less sensitive to protein signals. Your body essentially starts ignoring the normal protein triggers it used to respond to in your 30s and 40s. Casein, because of its slow release, keeps those protein signals active for longer, effectively working around that resistance. For preparation, eat half a cup to 1 full cup of full-fat cottage cheese. Not the low-fat version because the fat actually helps slow digestion further and improve amino acid absorption, either as an evening snack about an hour before bed or as a midday meal paired with some cherry tomatoes and olive oil. The synergy tip here is critical. Pair your cottage cheese with a small handful of walnuts. The omega-3 fatty acids in walnuts have been shown by researchers at the University of Illinois to reduce muscle inflammation markers by up to 31% in adults over 65, making the protein in the cottage cheese even more effective at reaching your muscle tissue. I had a patient named Dorothy, 71, from Columbus, Ohio. She came to me complaining that her grip strength had gotten so weak she was dropping glasses in the kitchen. We hadn't changed her medications, Her activity level was the same, and yet, over 2 years, she had lost nearly 8 pounds of lean muscle mass. We added cottage cheese with walnuts every evening before bed. 8 months later, her grip strength had improved measurably. She'd regained nearly 4 pounds of lean mass, and she told me, and this is exactly what she said, "I feel like my body remembered how to be strong." Moving to number 4, and this one costs almost nothing, canned sardines. I know what you're thinking. I've heard it in my office 100 times. Dr. Kim, I'm not eating sardines. And then I show my patients the research, and every single one of them changes their mind. A tin of sardines, and we're talking about a standard 3.75-ounce can that you can buy for under $2, contains approximately 23 grams of complete protein, meaning it has all 9 essential amino acids your body cannot manufacture on its own. But the protein is almost secondary to the reason sardines belong on this list. Sardines are one of the only foods on Earth that naturally combine high-quality protein with anti-inflammatory omega-3 fatty acids and vitamin D in a single package. And after 65, this combination is almost impossible to overstate in importance. A study from Tufts University found that older adults with low vitamin D levels lost muscle mass at a rate 60% faster than those with adequate levels. 60%. Vitamin D acts like a master key that unlocks your muscle cells' ability to absorb and use protein. Without enough of it, and most Americans over 60 are deficient, you can eat all the protein in the world and your muscles still won't respond properly. The omega-3s in sardines attack the second biggest enemy of muscle maintenance in seniors, which is chronic low-grade inflammation. After 70, your body's inflammatory pathways become overactive. Think of it like your immune system leaving the smoke alarm running all day, even when there's no fire. That constant inflammation directly interferes with muscle protein synthesis. The EPA and DHA in sardines, the 2 most powerful omega-3 compounds, have been shown in multiple clinical trials to suppress those inflammatory signals and actually restore some degree of anabolic sensitivity in older muscle tissue. Buy sardines packed in olive oil, not water. The oil-packed version retains more omega-3 content, and the olive oil itself contributes additional anti-inflammatory polyphenols. Mash them onto whole grain crackers with a squeeze of lemon and a thin layer of avocado, or stir them into a tomato-based pasta sauce where the flavor completely disappears, but the nutritional power remains fully intact. For synergy, pair sardines with any food high in magnesium. A small serving of pumpkin seeds or a cup of cooked spinach alongside your sardines will amplify the vitamin D absorption pathway significantly, according to research published in Nutrients Journal. Right here, between number 4 and number 3, I want to take just a moment and ask you something. If this video is already giving you information you've never heard before, information that could genuinely change the way you age, please hit that like button right now. It takes 2 seconds, and it tells YouTube to share this with other seniors who need it just as much as you do. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do that now and hit the bell so you never miss a video. I make content specifically for people over 60 who want real science-backed answers, and I don't want you to miss what's coming. Number 3 on our list, and this is where things start getting genuinely surprising: hemp seeds. I see people look at me sideways when I say this, but stay with me for 30 seconds because the science here is extraordinary. Hemp seeds, the kind you buy in the grocery store health section, not anything psychoactive, these are completely legal food seeds, contain approximately 10 grams of complete protein in just 3 tablespoons. But here is what separates hemp seeds from nearly every other plant protein and makes them particularly exceptional for people over 60. They contain an almost perfect 2-to-1 ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 fatty acids, which is precisely the ratio that researchers at Harvard Medical School have identified as optimal for reducing systemic inflammation and maintaining muscle cell membrane integrity in aging adults. Additionally, hemp seeds are extraordinarily rich in arginine, an amino acid that your aging cardiovascular system desperately needs. Arginine is a precursor to nitric oxide, which functions like a natural vasodilator. Think of it as a signal that tells your blood vessels to relax and open wider. After 65, reduced nitric oxide production is one of the primary reasons that nutrients, oxygen, and anabolic hormones have a harder time reaching your muscle tissue. Better blood flow means better nutrient delivery, and better nutrient delivery means more of the protein you eat actually ends up in your muscles rather than being wasted. A study from the University of Manitoba found that participants who added hemp seeds to their diet for 12 weeks showed meaningful improvements in inflammatory markers, including a reduction in C-reactive protein, a key inflammation indicator, of up to 26%. Add 3 tablespoons of whole hemp seeds to your morning oatmeal, blend them into a smoothie, or sprinkle them over a salad. They have a mild, slightly nutty flavor that pairs with almost everything. The synergy tip: combine hemp seeds with turmeric and black pepper. The curcumin in turmeric further suppresses the NF-κB inflammatory pathway in muscle tissue, and the piperine in black pepper increases curcumin absorption by up to 2,000%, according to research from St. John's Medical College in India. That is not a typo, 2,000%. My patient Gerald, 68, from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, was a retired electrician who'd been an active man his whole life. When he came to see me, he'd given up on his morning walks because his legs felt heavy and useless by the time he reached the end of his block. His inflammatory markers were elevated, his muscle biopsy showed early atrophy, and he was on a fixed income, so expensive supplements were not an option. We added hemp seeds and a simple turmeric preparation to his existing diet, no other changes. 4 months later, Gerald was walking 2 miles every morning. He told me the heaviness was gone. He cried in my office. That's what food can do. Number 2 on our list, and I told you earlier that number 1 was going to shock you, but number 2 is no slouch: black beans. Here's a statistic I want you to hold on to. 1 cup of cooked black beans contains 15 grams of protein. That is the same amount of protein as 2 large eggs, for approximately 40 cents. But the protein story is actually not even the most important reason black beans belong at number 2 on this list. The most important reason is their extraordinary fiber content and its effect on something called the gut-muscle axis, a field of research that is genuinely rewriting how we understand aging and muscle loss. Researchers at the University of California, Davis, published a landmark paper showing that the gut microbiome, the community of bacteria living in your intestines, plays a direct regulatory role in muscle protein synthesis. When your gut microbiome is healthy and diverse, it produces short-chain fatty acids like butyrate, propionate, and acetate. These compounds travel through your bloodstream and directly stimulate muscle stem cells, essentially giving them a wake-up call to repair and grow. After 70, your gut microbiome diversity naturally declines by up to 40% compared to younger adults, and this decline has been directly correlated with accelerated sarcopenia in multiple independent studies. Black beans, with 15 grams of fiber per cup, are one of the most powerful prebiotic foods available. They feed the specific bacterial strains, Lactobacillus and Bifidobacterium species primarily, that produce the highest levels of those muscle-stimulating short-chain fatty acids. Think of it this way: black beans are not just feeding you. They are feeding your body's internal muscle repair crew. The resistant starch in black beans also feeds these bacteria uniquely well. It bypasses digestion in the small intestine and arrives in the colon intact, where it ferments and nourishes your microbiome most effectively. For preparation, canned black beans work perfectly. Drain and rinse them to reduce sodium by about 40%, then warm them in a pan with garlic, cumin, and a drizzle of olive oil. Eat them alongside any other protein source for a combined effect. The synergy tip here is to pair black beans with a vitamin C source, a squeeze of lime juice, or some chopped bell pepper. Plant proteins contain something called phytic acid, which can partially block iron and zinc absorption, and vitamin C neutralizes that effect, improving overall mineral bioavailability by up to 300%, according to research from the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition. Aim for half a cup to 1 full cup of black beans at least 4 times per week. I want to mention that all the studies and scientific references I discuss in my videos are listed in the description below, so please look there for the full citations. And now, number 1, the cheap food that has more protein than eggs, that outperforms most protein powders in terms of bioavailability for aging bodies, that has been eaten by the populations with the lowest rates of sarcopenia on Earth, and that you can buy for less than $2 for an entire week's supply? The answer is lentils. Specifically, red lentils, though green and brown lentils are nearly identical in their benefits. 1 cup of cooked lentils contains 18 grams of protein. 18. More than 3 eggs, more than most expensive protein bars, at a cost of roughly 20 to 30 cents per serving. But here is why lentils beat eggs and chicken and expensive whey powder for people specifically over the age of 60, and why I put them at the top of this list after years of reviewing the research. A study conducted by researchers at the G. Mayer USDA Human Nutrition Research Center on aging at Tufts University, one of the most prestigious nutrition research institutions in the world, followed adults aged 65 and older and found that those who consumed legumes like lentils at least 4 times per week had 50% lower rates of muscle decline over a 3-year period compared to those who consumed them rarely. 50%, not 10 or 15%. 50% lower rates of muscle decline. Here is the mechanism, and this is the part that will change how you think about protein forever. After the age of 75, your body loses approximately 35% of its anabolic hormone response, meaning the signals that use to efficiently shuttle amino acids into your muscle cells become weaker and slower. This is why a 35-year-old and a 72-year-old can eat the same amount of chicken breast, and the younger person will synthesize dramatically more muscle protein from that identical meal. This is anabolic resistance in its most severe form. What researchers have discovered is that lentils work through a completely different pathway than animal proteins. Lentils are extraordinarily rich in leucine, the most anabolic of all amino acids, but they deliver it alongside a dense matrix of complex carbohydrates that produce a slow, sustained insulin response. Insulin, in this context, is not the villain you may have heard about. At low, sustained levels, it is actually a powerful anabolic signal that opens the door to muscle cells and helps leucine get inside where it can do its work. Lentils essentially create the ideal hormonal environment for leucine to bypass anabolic resistance and stimulate muscle protein synthesis, even in very old muscle tissue. Beyond the protein, lentils contain folate, iron, magnesium, and potassium, a combination that supports mitochondrial health in muscle cells. Your mitochondria are the power plants inside every cell in your body, and after 65, mitochondrial function in muscle tissue declines significantly, contributing to that feeling of weakness and fatigue that so many of my patients describe. The magnesium in lentils is a direct cofactor for mitochondrial ATP production. Think of it as the spark plug that gets the engine running. A half cup of lentils provides nearly 18% of your daily magnesium requirement, and most seniors are chronically deficient in magnesium without knowing it. For preparation, red lentils cook in just 15 to 20 minutes without soaking. They dissolve into a beautiful thick soup or sauce. Cook them with olive oil, garlic, onion, cumin, and a pinch of turmeric. A single pot lasts 3 to 4 days in the refrigerator, making this one of the most practical foods I can recommend for any senior cooking for themselves. You can also add red lentils to tomato soup, stir them into rice dishes, or make a simple dal that costs almost nothing to prepare. Aim for at least half a cup of cooked lentils every single day. The synergy tip for lentils is the most important synergy tip of this entire video, so please pay attention. Eat your lentils with a source of vitamin C and alongside any small amount of animal protein, even just a tablespoon of yogurt, a small piece of cheese, or a single egg. This combination does 3 things simultaneously. The vitamin C neutralizes phytic acid and maximizes mineral absorption. The animal protein provides complementary amino acids that fill in the small gaps in lentils' amino acid profile, and together they create what researchers call a protein synergy effect, where the combined muscle building signal is significantly greater than either food would produce alone. This is the most affordable, most evidence-based muscle protection meal you can build. I need to tell you about Margaret, 79, from Portland, Oregon, because her story is the reason I keep making these videos. Margaret came to me 2 years ago, terrified. She had fallen twice in 6 months, was losing weight she didn't want to lose, and her daughter had started talking about assisted living. She had been eating healthy, salads, lean chicken, yogurt, but almost no legumes, no sardines, and virtually no slow digesting proteins. We rebuilt her diet around the foods I've described today. No fancy supplements, no expensive powders, just real food strategically combined. At her 12-month follow-up, Margaret had gained 6 pounds of lean muscle mass, verified by DEXA scan. Her walking speed had increased by 28%. She had not fallen once, and she looked me in the eye and said, "I feel like myself again." She is still living independently in her own home. That is what this is about. I want you to hear this clearly because I mean every word of it. It is never too late. I have watched patients in their late 70s, early 80s rebuild meaningful amounts of muscle, restore their balance, regain their independence, and most importantly, reclaim their confidence. The human body's capacity to respond to proper nutrition does not disappear with age. It just changes. And when you understand how it changes, you can work with it instead of against it. Your muscle tissue, even at 80, is still capable of growth and repair. Every meal you eat from this day forward is either working for that capacity or against it. The 5 foods we covered today, cottage cheese, sardines, hemp seeds, black beans, and lentils, are not exotic. They are not expensive. They do not require a prescription. They are sitting in your grocery store right now, and together they represent one of the most powerful evidence-based strategies for maintaining your strength, your independence, and your quality of life through your 60s, 70s, 80s, and beyond. You did not work this hard for this long to spend your best years on the sideline. Eat these foods. Be consistent. Give your body the raw materials it needs to keep fighting for you, because it absolutely will fight if you give it the chance. If this video helped you today, please subscribe to this channel and hit that bell notification. We publish new science-backed health content for seniors every single week. And before you go, I have one question for you in the comments. Which of these 5 foods surprised you the most, and which one are you going to start eating this week? Tell me below. I genuinely read every response, and your comments help me understand exactly what content to bring you next. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you in the next one.